Hey, what's up, folks? This is Tony Brewer. You're listening to or watching, as the case may be, Cogitations. Cogitations is the podcast where we think about things, we contemplate them, we turn them over in our minds, and then we discuss them. Daniel chapter 7, verse 28, Daniel writes, "Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me. My countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart." We're not going to keep the matter in our heart. We're going to talk about it. Today's Free for All Friday. I've got some introductory stuff to get us started till the crowd rolls in. If a crowd rolls in, we are going at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is, I normally go at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I had some stuff in the morning come up and put my live stream off. Hopefully that don't affect the crowd too much. Uh, it typically takes a minute for restream through YouTube to build the crowd. So we do have John Exum in. Good afternoon to you, John. So glad you're here. And yeah, I'm sure folks will start rolling in. Uh, if they don't, the best thing you can do to help us is hit that like button. Go to YouTube, hit the like and subscribe, and that tells YouTube's algorithm that we are interactive, that our content is interactive, and if they will just put it in front of people, people will watch it and interact with it. And quite frankly, we've been doing some good kind of way so far. I've been very impressed with what YouTube has done with us and what YouTube has done for us. And the reason they do that is because y'all interact so well with the show. I know some of the shows that we have, we'll have around 20 people, which is not a large crowd, but we'll have 39, 40, 45, 50 comments. And I don't know. I just feel like that's a pretty big deal. So think about if we had 100 people live, would we have, you know, 600 comments? I don't know. Maybe we try it one day. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 16, as folks start coming in and we start getting comments. Remember, this is Free for All Friday. I'll go back and forth between uh, my material and your comments. So let's get right into it. This section in my Bible is called the Unjust Steward, and I'm going to read 13 verses with no commentary, and we'll just listen to the text here, and then I'll go back and we'll make some observations. Oh, that's a good one, John. I'm going to read this section of scripture and then talk a little bit about some lessons we can learn from the unjust steward. And then I'm really looking forward to talking about your question there. The question for those of you that are just coming in, what are your thoughts on the so-called statistics in regard to churches of Christ declining? I don't put much stock into the shock numbers. So yeah, that's I do have some thoughts about that. I think about it quite a bit. So let's do Luke 16 real quick, and then I'm going to get to John's question. There may be some more come up as we're going through this. Luke 16, 1 through 13. And he said also unto his disciples, There was a certain rich man who had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him, and he said to him, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Then the steward said within himself, What shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, How much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, Take thy bill, set down quickly, write 50. Then said to another, And how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, Take thy bill and write 80. That's 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely, for the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. And I say unto you, make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fall, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in least is unjust also in much. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the Well, hold on. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, and the idea you cannot serve God and money. And this passage of Scripture is often debated, and it's quite frankly a little difficult. Like, what in the world is Jesus saying here? Is Jesus saying that this is a good thing, that this steward did this? Basically, the steward cheated his master. So I think a few things are going on. One lesson we learn is accountability. Everybody's going to be accountable, and nothing is going to be able to be hidden forever. So the steward comes, the master says, you can no longer be a steward, you got to give an account, because he's going to have to get his books right. Evidently, the steward was embezzling. So the steward said, well, once I lose this cushy job, I'm too proud to beg. I'm not able to dig. In other words, I can't go out and get manual labor. So I'm going to have to make a safety net. So I'm going to take my master's debtors and call them in, and I am going to treat them in such a way that will make them be more charitable to me when I am out on my own. And the master commended this. The master did not commend the dishonest behavior. He commended the self-preservation, I believe. And this is a truly neutral thing that Jesus is not extolling the virtue of dishonest behavior. What he's showcasing here is even the children of the world. How does he put it here? Let's see. And the Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. There's a few different ways to interpret this. One lesson I take from it is, as a Christian, you need to understand that you are functioning in this world. And the children of the world are shrewd. They know how to get ahead. They know how to promote self. That's not inherently bad. It can be bad if you self-promote and take care of yourself to the degradation of others, to the hurt of others. But there is a sense in which we should be just a little bit shrewd. And again, the wicked people understand this because they understand they can't do this on their own. So how much more so should a righteous person have a little bit of that shrewdness? Remember, if you are to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and might, and the second commandment's like unto it, love thy neighbor as thyself, you can't properly love your neighbor unless you love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. I talk about Jordan Peterson quite a bit. One of Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life is take care of yourself at least as good as you would take care of someone else whom you were responsible for. That's a little confusing if you don't think about it the right way. An interesting story is the statistics around whenever somebody is sick, the statistics of how often they go to the doctor, if they go to the doctor, how often they go to the pharmacy to fill the prescription, and even those people, if they go to the pharmacy to fulfill the prescription, how often, what percentage of those people take that prescription to its fullest and follow the doctor's orders and regimen in order to actually be better. Most people don't. You would be so surprised at how small that percentage is. Most people don't take care of themselves. And when I say most, you're looking at this fellow right here. I don't take care of myself the way I need to take care of myself. But the statistics on pet owners, if a pet gets sick, the statistics of people, the percentage of people who own pets who actually take their dog to the vet, very, very, very high, like almost 100% of the people that take their dogs to the vet. How many people actually purchase the medicine and the material for the health regimen, for the healing regimen? Percentages are very, very high. Of those people, how many use that medicine and those materials for the health regimen, the healing regimen for their dogs? How many take that to completion and follow the orders of the vet and do follow-up visits with the vet to make sure their dog is okay? The percentage is very, very high, like close to 100. So what can we take away from this? Most of the time, we take care of others much better than we take care of ourselves. Well, that's right. That's turned upside down. It's disordered. The people of the world know that you have to have a little bit of self-preservation and you have to be a little bit motivated to take care of self because nobody else is going to prioritize your well-being. So they're shrewd. How much more so should the children of righteousness be shrewd? Because we know that our existence is not finite. It's infinite. Our existence is not temporal. Our existence in this stage is temporal, but our existence is eternal. So we need, in the realm of righteousness, to show some of the very shrewdness that this wicked man showed. The difference is what it looks like. It plays out in a godly fashion, okay? Now, I can't remember who I heard, actually, but I'm going to give you a teaser to a breadcrumb trail to follow. I think it was Glenn Colley. And what I'm about to say is what I remember of Glenn Colley speaking about this passage. And I don't disagree with it, but I don't know if I wholesale endorse it as the right and holistic interpretation, all-encompassing interpretation of this parable. But I think there's definitely something to think about. And if I'm attributing this to Glenn Colley and it was from somebody else, I apologize. Or if I misrepresent what the man said, whomever this came from, I apologize. Okay? So I'm telling you, fact check me. And I think it's Glenn Colley. So here's the way Glenn Colley kind of thought about this. That what we're looking at is a lesson in the negative. So Jesus is telling us, here's what happened. Now here's how we're not to be. Now, the Lord commended the guy for his shrewdness. I mean, think about it. Even, have you ever had somebody who was set against you, who maneuvered against you, that you was like, well, you know what? I don't like the fact that they maneuvered against me, but I can give my enemy some respect. I commend them. That may be what's going on here. But Glenn, or the person I'm thinking of, focused more on this verse here. Listen to this. And I say unto you, make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fall, they may receive you into everlasting habitation. The person that I'm thinking of taught this as more Jesus was admonishing people not to do something. Like, think about this. If I'm talking to somebody and I say, oh, so you want to go out and do heroin? Well, go out and make yourself friends of the drug dealers and the druggies, and you'll receive their reward. They'll receive you into the reward of their habitation. So go out and make you friends of drug dealers and druggies. Go out and make yourselves friends of drug dealers and druggies, and they'll share everything they have with you. I think that's plausible. I think it's plausible that Jesus would say here, go make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, and you'll receive the reward of such. You've got to understand, if you don't take care of the stuff that's been stewarded into your possession now, how do you think that you're going to be a good steward of eternal life? The more I think about that, I don't know. I may be leaning more towards that interpretation. I really do. I tell you, the way I've taught this in the past is that what Jesus was trying to teach here is we need to use our lives in the world to further the gospel. Like, for instance, if you're a butcher and you know somebody that comes in and they buy meat from you all the time and you're developing a rapport with them, use that leverage to introduce them to Jesus. That's shrewd. Be as wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Now, the unjust steward, he was wise as a serpent, but he was not harmless as a dove, because he harmed his master before his service was terminated. So, however you treat it, however you look at it, what we're being told is we need to be good stewards of the material blessings that we've been given, and that shows our worthiness to be good stewards of the spiritual material, the spiritual blessings that we are promised and have been given. I'll go ahead and just read it out. He that is faithful in the least is faithful also in much. He that is unjust in the least is also unjust in much. In fact, that principle is one reason why the abuse of animals is such a high priority case in criminal law. It's because if you'll abuse an animal, you're way more likely to abuse a human being. You just have a proclivity to abuse things that are weaker than you, so any other human beings that are around that are weaker than you, you're going to abuse. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? The idea is, if you act like this unjust steward, you're going to have the reward of eternity that the people in the house of mammon have, that the people who are loyal to unrighteous mammon. But if you're not like the unjust steward, if you deal straight with everybody, if you're dependable, if you're honest, if you always tell the truth, if you always represent things the way they're supposed to be represented, then you have shown yourself of the type of person that can be trusted with the true eternal riches. Verse 12, and if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. This unjust steward could not serve himself and his master. He did everything to promote self, and he harmed his master. We cannot serve the world and serve ourselves without harming God, without harming our relationship with God. I suppose you could make a case that you can't harm God because, he's God. But anyway, I really find that passage of Scripture to be quite profound and interesting. We'll go to the comment section now. So, before we go to the comment section, just take from that reading, that message, that look, don't get the cart before the horse. Don't try to think about this big grandiose scheme in your life. Take care of the little things. Clean your room first before you try to start cleaning up the world. If your room is clean, then work out on the other rooms. Then you got your house clean. Now, once you have your house in order, once you have yourself in order, well, you remove that beam. Now you can adequately help your brother if he has a speck. To the comment section. Hey, Connie Barden, good afternoon to you. And incidentally, I'm really surprised that we have the crowd that we have going live at such an odd time. And I'm thinking about taking one live stream a week and moving it to more of a quote-unquote prime time, like a 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That would be 9 o'clock my time, so that would put me like from 9 to 10, be the last thing I do of the day. But I'm thinking about taking one of those days and seeing if there's more people active and able to tune into the show. But I'm happy for the crowd that we have now. So if you've got a question, comment, observation, anything, I'll be on here, and I try to stay on for about an hour. But if the comments are really hopping, we'll stay on longer than that. So good afternoon, Connie Barden. John Exum is in. John Exum. All right. What are your thoughts on the so-called statistics in regards to churches of Christ declining? I don't put much stock into the shock numbers. So to me, it's not so much the statistic. I believe the statistic. I think the statistic is true. The question is why? Why are they declining? And I think what I saw, it was the numbers of churches. Was it the numbers of churches or was it Christians? Let me see if I can go to my timeline. Well, of course something's going on. My computer is, there we go. Come on. Load, buddy. What is wrong? All right, this thing has been on my timeline for the last 24 hours. I haven't been able to look at Facebook without seeing that meme. And now it's not. Let me see. I think I know who put it out. I think I know who put it out. It was the Jenkins Institute, wasn't it? Yeah, right here. According to the Churches of Christ in the United States, 2018, 12,963 Churches of Christ. Yeah, I got it. Thank you, John Exum. 12,963 Churches of Christ in the USA in 2006. 11,965 Churches of Christ in 2018. We lost 1,000 of those churches in 12 years. For the last decade, Churches of Christ in America have lost 108 congregations. That's one every 3.3 days, and about 17,000 members per year. Okay, that's what the 17,000 members per year is what I want to talk about, because it's not so much I care about congregations closing down. I know it really stinks to see a little old congregation that's been holding on, for the last 20 or 30 years close their doors. But sometimes it's better to close your doors. You got a small group of people and they're coming together. They're paying some fella to come in once a week to preach. They're taking up a collection, and they've got a little bit of money in the bank, but they're not doing anything. They're not a net positive to the kingdom. They're not influencing the community. They're not doing any outreach. They're not doing anything except coming to the well and drinking. Now, I'm not saying these people are nefarious. I just think it was something that started happening very, very slowly. Then all of a sudden they found themselves in this situation. And then maybe there's 6 or 7 or 12 or 15 people in the congregation. Well, 10 minutes down the road is another congregation that's thriving. It's better for that small congregation that's struggling to close their doors and go to the congregations that's thriving, where they can at least put their money to usury. This gets back to the parable of the talents. A little congregation that's not doing anything but cutting a check for a preacher and cutting a check to the electric company, they are doing the equivalent of hiding their money in the ground, of hiding their talent in the dirt. It would be better for them to take their talent and give it to somebody that's going to use it, where at least it gathers usury value. So go to the congregation 10 miles down the road and give your contribution there, where at least that congregation will use that contribution to fund missionaries and community outreaches and stuff like that. So I'm not so much concerned with the congregations that are closing. I'm concerned with the members lost per year. And I think the only way we're going to stem that tide is to get back to the old ways. I think we had a push in the Lord's church for a while, maybe 20, 30 years, where we had to be contemporary. And contemporary just, well, what does the word contemporary mean? I know I can break it down. Contemporary, living or occurring at the same time, belonging to or occurring in the present. So the church, we need to have more contemporary worship services, more contemporary attitudes or atmospheres, more contemporary church buildings and this, that, and the other. And we lost some of our uniqueness in that way. I mean, of all the thousands of denominations out there, people are looking for something now, and they don't want something. They know what the world offers. So when they go to the church, like think about kids in high school. A family says, you know what, we need to get more spiritual. So they go to a large building that looks more like a hospital than a church. You walk in, it's kind of sterile looking, really institutionalized. And the kids go off to the youth classes where you got this 19-year-old kid in skinny jeans, a t-shirt that says Jesus is your bro, and a faux hawk telling them how cool Jesus is. I don't know, man. I think we're getting away from that. But as long as that's the picture that we show, and I'm not saying that happens everywhere, but as long as that's the picture we show, as long as that's what we're offering to the world, well, that's the same thing the world offers. That's the same thing the denominations offer. We're not going to have any drawing potential. We're not going to have any appeal. Not that we need to try to be appealing for the world, but we're not going to appeal to people that are actually broken and seeking something different than the world offers. I don't believe that this trend will last. I believe if you look at different demographics, different geographic locations and the demographics therein, you're going to see that certain areas in the country, in the United States, the members of the Lord's church are going to wax. Certain areas is going to wane. And I guarantee you all the line of the difference between one who waxes and one who wanes is going to be, how are we trying to grow? Are we trying to grow by being more contemporary, or are we trying to grow by being more grave, more traditional? Instead of offering something cool, are we trying to offer something reverent? So I don't know if I gave a definitive answer or not. I don't think these are shock numbers. I think the numbers are 100% true and adequately yes, but accurately represented. All right, let me get back to the chat. Yeah, and the good point. Yeah, I mean the point is, I don't see the. Well, the point that I would take from this is we need to make a change. If we don't stem the tide, it's just going to get worse. Yeah, I see baptisms posted almost every day. Hey, Alabama. Yeah. And think about it though, you're going to. because you interact with those in the algorithm, so they're gonna show up on your feed more. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. I want to see that positive stuff. But it's one of those things, you might be seeing baptisms every day, but your your overall membership of the Lord's church is, in other words, we're not proselytizing enough to hit the replacement rate threshold. We're not proselytizing enough to hit the replacement rate threshold. Oh, he has an art. Yeah, okay. The link. Well, let's look at it. I didn't realize there was a link. Let's see. Read it here. All right. Okay, he says rethinking the slide. First off, I need to get this in readers. I've taken some time to consider sharing my thoughts on a topic that's been circulating lately. I understand that my words might be interpreted in various ways, and I truly appreciate the passion that many have for God's family. My intention is to foster understanding rather than engage in disputes that often lead to more questions than answers. I love the family of God with a deep passion. I pray my history of dealing with fellow Christians is evidence of that. The slide has garnered attention and reflects our members' genuine concern for the church's growth and well-being. It's clear that many of us want to see the kingdom thrive, and when faced with alarming statistics, it's natural to feel a sense of urgency. Understanding the data. The numbers we often see from efforts initiated by Batsell Barrett Baxter, continued by Mac Lynn, and further developed by 21st Century Christian and Carl, developed by 21st Century Christian and Carl R. I hold Carl in high regard and recognize that he is doing his best to provide insights. However, it's important to remember that as a non-denominational group, we lack an official reporting agency. Yeah, that's something to consider. Yeah, the data can vary, and that's another thing. You never know who all's included in that data. All right, here's what I want to get to. Critical thinking about the stats. I deal with brotherhood statistics daily. When encountering statistics, I encourage everyone to ask important questions. Why is the statistic important? What context is missing? Who is presenting this data, and what might their motivations be? Absolutely. Yeah, statistics are really, really good if you use them correctly. All right, I'll read through that later. I'm sure it's a very, very good good article. But yeah, I'm in agreement with Dale. Just because you have the statistics there doesn't mean everything is going to hell the way some people would like to say it's going to hell on earth. Connie says, I'm in a very small congregation and I'm afraid we're headed to a door closing. I hate that, Connie. It's never a good thing. John says, I plan not to ask too many questions today. Most shows become the John comment show. Hey, if it works, man. All right. Seems a lot of people look for the newest building to attend. At least in my area, we have a lot of new people moving in the area. They look around before they settle on a place to attend. Yeah. Yep. And I don't understand why congregations don't help each other out like they used to. Todd talked about that a while back. A few from full congregations would move over to one that needs more members. Hey, that's the thing. I don't understand that either. A threefold cord is not easily broken, and I think synergy is the best thing. So, for instance, you got a city with 3 congregations, and all of them have 50 members. Would the city be better served to have one congregation with 150 members? I don't think so. I think the city is better served with three 50-member congregations. I really do. Because you got three different congregations with three different distinct personalities and ways of doing things. You have three different congregations with three different leaderships. You have three different areas for people to differentiate themselves from the unknown middle and step up and develop themselves. You've got three different congregations where people can go for help and counsel and such like. I don't understand the problem. In fact, if one of those congregations, if they started growing up much above 50, it might be cool to, between the three congregations, talk to a bunch of different people and figure out where everybody's driving from. And if you've got a hot spot that's 20 or 30 minutes away where you can get 10 or 15 people to gather in the same place, the three congregations pool their finances and use their finances to plan a congregation for those other members 20 or 30 minutes away. I'm with you. All right. And I got Connie Barton. I'm in a very small congregation. I'm afraid we're headed to a door closing. A lot are. We had several families leave saying they wanted classes for their children. We had classes for children, just not a lot. They didn't care to stay and grow the classes with their children. I wrote an article some years back called "Why Did You Leave?" and I gave four reasons that people give normally why they leave a sound congregation for another. One is, well, they don't have any elderships. Well, why don't you stay? And if you are uneligible to be an elder, why don't you stay and help cultivate an atmosphere where people are groomed into the eldership? Something to think about. Well, this congregation doesn't have enough youth. So you're going to take your youth from the congregation. Why don't you become involved and evangelistic and convert people who have youth and grow the youth group? What was the third one? This congregation just isn't friendly enough. Without being too cliche, why don't you stay and be the change you desire to seek? I promise, if you're a man that has friends must show himself friendly. It's the very last verse of Proverbs 18. If you want to have those friends that stick closer than a brother, you have to show yourself friendly. So if you go to a congregation and you don't feel it's friendly enough, maybe you need to start being friendly, and folks will be friendly to you. What's the fourth one? The congregation isn't active enough, then you need to activate yourself. If everybody that left a small congregation, if they would go back and be the change that they desired in that congregation, we have a whole lot healthier universal church on earth. Yeah, we don't need to linger on the gloom and doom. Now, we also don't need to put our heads in the sand and ignore it, but no, we don't need to linger on it. Ignoring it and lingering on it are both pathological and have some pretty egregious side effects. When we were faced with closing, they came back with the congregation that they had moved to and took us over. Now they're going to sell our building and build another one. Well, that sounds, I don't know what to think about that. Hey, Alabama. I have a negative emotion, but I may be reading this comment wrong. We seem to keep to ourselves these days. We used to visit each other. Yeah. And there's still folks that do. I ain't going to call his name, although I don't know why I wouldn't. It's a really good thing to say about somebody. I still ain't going to call his name. There's a folk from quote unquote back home, Arkansas. And this dude, he's a gospel preacher in Northeast Arkansas. But you can believe every congregation that has some kind of event, he's going to be there. He's going to support it. He's a Barnabas. Maybe post that article again. Hey, if you're talking about the article, why did you leave? I'll see if I can't do it. It may be on the. I may have revamped it and put it on the. Come on, Tony, put it on the Substack. Yeah, our congregation is small, but we're not giving up. Sow the seed, and God gives the increase. Absolutely. And my favorite song in the whole book is "Little as Much When God is in it." I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can find that article real quick. Substack. Let's go to Christianity Now home. We're searching. No, no, no. I don't want to search Substack. I want to search Christianity Now. How do I do that? Bear with me, folks. No, that's a what's on your mind. I want to know how to search. Those are my notes. I don't want to search my notes. Oh, there it is. Sorry, guys. I know that was some compelling live streaming there. Oh, right here it is. Why did you leave? Yeah, this congregation has no youth. This congregation isn't active enough. This congregation has no elders. This congregation isn't friendly enough. I will copy and paste that into the. There. What is your favorite article that you have written? The one I'm most proud of is the one about the logical arguments for the existence of God that are found elucidated in Acts chapter 17. I come to this conclusion whenever I was in preaching school and told some of the teachers about it, and they were impressed with it. And in fact, I made a note here in my little New Testament that I carried about so often. I since have retired this New Testament. I don't know if you can see this or not, but that is a powerful sermon right there. So there's the cosmological argument for the existence of God, the ontological argument, the teleological argument, the argument for religion, the argument for morality, and the aesthetic argument. And since we've got Substack open, I will search again with ancient truths. Yeah, ancient. Uh-oh. No, it's ancient wisdom, modern truths. No, ancient insight. Hold on. Ancient wisdom, modern insight. Arguments for God's existence in Paul's Mars Hill sermon. This is not my favorite article I've ever written, but it is the article I'm probably most proud of. And it's probably one of the worst arranged articles, but it's okay. The information therein is good. Well, folks, incidentally, I just shared it to the comment section. Ancient wisdom, modern insights. Cosmological argument, the teleological argument, the ontological argument, all that good. Yeah, I did post it, Connie. It should be in the comment section. Ancient Wisdom, Modern Insights. I'll post it again in case it didn't go through. All right, folks. Looks like the comment section is died down. I hope. Well, I didn't really answer what my favorite article is. I don't know what my favorite article is. I'd have to think about it, and I don't think I could come up with an answer on the spot. But I just shared with you my favorite, my article I'm most proud of. I'll put it to you like that. Anyway, folks, that's all I've got here. If you want to help us out, there's ways to support us. It's in the show notes. And if you want to send us something, then shoot me an email, christianityisnow@gmail.com. That's christianityisnow@gmail.com. And ask for the P.O. box, and I'll send you the P.O. box, and I'll send you the address where you can ship us stuff directly. The only reason we have that is because somebody asked. So we provided. Thanks every one of you. You're welcome there, Connie Barton. Thanks all of you for tuning in. Give us some feedback. What do you think about moving one of the days that we do the show to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time? I'm thinking it'd be neat to see what the turnout would be if we took one day a week and had that consistency, maybe for 2 or 3 months, and saw what happened. Anyway, that's all I've got here. If you want to listen to the archives of this audio, you can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or TuneIn Radio. And Podbean, just go there and search Cogitations, and you'll find the archives. But remember, we want to grow on YouTube. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good weekend. You have a good weekend too, Diana Hardin. And just hit the thumbs up on the YouTube. Subscribe. We would love to have you over on YouTube to watch and to comment and to really help us grow the YouTube channel. God bless, and we'll catch you on the flip.